fabulous fabric from the land of the Five Rivers.
Years ago, when we came to Los Angeles, I really believed that the greatness of the Raiders would be in its future.
It's that time, y'all. What's going on?
Oh, you didn't know?
50-50.
Man.
Welcome to the 50-50 Show.
Appreciate everybody's patience.
PharoahNFL. And the Severe Raider. The realest show for RaiderNation.
The perpetuation of the greatness of the Raiders to take a professional football team and give it a distinct characteristic that's different from all others.
Make sure to clock in, like, comment, subscribe, and hit that notification bell.
Man, hey, man, we appreciate everybody's patience, man. Y'all already know, man. It's a late night show, man, a 50-50 show. We appreciate everybody coming through, man. RaiderNation, where y'all at, man? We see y'all in the chat. I see y'all, man. What's good, man? Hey, look, man. Raider Smoke, man. Shout out to Raider Smoke, man. He knows how to start it off right.
Right.
He over here sent over a super chat, man. I appreciate you. Appreciate the super chat, the support. He says like and subscribe. Best Raider content on YouTube. Man. Say it again, man. Man, appreciate that. Hey, Cam, man. Hey, we here now. Hey, we here. We here, man. I appreciate, like I said, we appreciate y'all waiting. It's a late night show, man. That's why we say hit the notification bell, man. When you hit that notification bell, automatically that notification gets sent to you, and automatic. That's telling you that we're going live. We are going live. Milk of Beezy in the building, man. Salute.
Thanks. Salute
UEP,
to you,
man. Appreciate you coming through.
Hey, as always,
man. Hey, look, man. I got you. I got you. Janky. Hey, Raider Resistance, man. I think it started too, man. I think you might be right. The king of mods is in the building, man. Salute. Appreciate you coming through, Daniel Kim.
Sir.
In the building, man. Appreciate you coming through, man. We got a lot to talk about, man. It's week 3 of training camp. Training camp continues. We got to talk about what's been happening with the Raiders. Over the weekend, they had like a scrimmage, which was pretty nice. You know what I mean? I feel like Antonio Pierce is making his presence felt by, he wants that physicality. You could tell he wants, he's trying to push the. I want to say he's breaking any rules or anything like that, but he wants to have that physicality in training camp.
Yeah.
And he had a scrimmage over the weekend. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about the QBs. How they're doing, that's going to be a big conversation right there. Also, we are opening the lines up. So, hey, stay tuned, call in. You know what I mean? Let us know your thoughts, man. We want to hear from Raider Nation. So, like I said last week, we are going to be opening the lines this week. I know some of y'all asked for it last week. The crazy thing is we were thinking about opening the lines regardless, and then we heard from y'all too as well. So, we are going to put up the number. Just stay tuned for that. But yeah, Severe, man, what's going on, man? How you been?
Oh man, I've been good, man. Very, very interesting weekend of Raiders football, and it is the last weekend that we will go without having Raiders football for a while now. So looking forward to the season, man. Looking forward to the season.
Yeah, man, and they so happen to play a team that I'm not gonna lie, man, a very disrespectful loss. I know it's preseason, but I don't ever want to witness the Raiders losing a game 3-0. So we're playing the Vikings, a team that historically they beat them in the Super Bowl. So
yeah,
they got some history. The Raiders got obviously the ultimate laugh in the biggest game. But we did lose to them 3-0 last season. So hopefully the Raiders can get some get back. Hopefully AOC and the quarterbacks, the offense. I think offensively is where I think they need to go out there and hopefully they can remember that game. Some of the players that were on the team, I know there's some players that weren't on the team, but the players that were on the team, I'm sure remember that game, and hopefully they could put a stamp offensively and put on a show, man, for Raider Nation, man. I want to see the offense play well, not what we've been hearing in training camp. I know the defense is always going to be ahead of the offense, but I want to see the offense play because we have some weapons.
Yes, we do.
We have some weapons.
Alexander Madison revenge game incoming, possibly.
Maybe, man. Maybe Madison is his former team, so he's gonna get some PT. Zamir, I know Zamir White's gonna get some run, but I'm sure, there's gonna be a limit to how much carries he gets. Obviously, Madison's gonna come into the game. Your favorite UCLA running back, Britton Brown, is gonna be in the game as well. Man, so it's a lot to like, man, and a lot to look forward to. But we'll get into it. Let's let's get into it, man. Let's talk about what we've been hearing from training camp, and obviously the defense right now. They're playing out there. They're dominating, man. They really haven't had a bad day from what we've been hearing in training camp. But the quarterback play, I know last time we spoke, Severe, we talked about the quarterback play a little bit, and you were saying that Minshew is the guy, then the Raiders shouldn't hesitate to start him. Yes. And I'm kind of on the side of, well, if it's close, I'd rather go with AOC just because the upside it might be a little bit higher. You know what I mean? I think we might be able to get more out of the offense with a guy like AOC who has a better arm, maybe more accurate, and the ceiling is there's a more unknown with AOC. If it's close. Now, if it's clear cut that Gardner Minshew is a better player at that position, then obviously, we got to put him out there. But it sounds like it's still kind of it's pretty even. I mean, the scrimmage, we heard Minshew was the better quarterback, but then we heard Minshew struggle today, and then AOC played well today. What wasn't a padded practices today though.
Exactly. So, man, you have to weigh those things differently, in my opinion, right? All of us have been to high school. I'm assuming everybody here has been to high school, hopefully,
High school? What's that?
So, it's all right, high school. Eighth grade, bro. So it's like, like that scrimmage was like a final, right? That's like a final examination. That is like a lot of times, depending on your class, but those finals, those weigh heavy on your grade. I had a class where the final exam was like 33% of my total grade. And then, you come out, the next day, no pads on after a rough scrimmage. That's more like a pop quiz type situation, right? Like that's not gonna like that still counts towards your grade, but that doesn't, nor should it have as big of an impact as that final. And when basically the lights were on and essentially it was live, right? It was live contact. We hear like, Max Crosby, he's tackling quarterbacks to the ground, as you alluded to, because AP wanted that physicality. He's pushing the envelope. He's going away from some of the norms of protecting the quarterback. We heard Gardner Minshew took a few tough hits, but at the end of the day, I think he led like five drives into the red zone. He had 2 touchdowns, only 1 turnover, and that 1 turnover was a pass that went off of Trey Tucker's hand. So, like if we're weighing these things with the proper weight, I would still say Gardner Minshew is ahead. No, this is not over yet, right? We still got a few preseason games. We still got several more practices. I think Aidan O'Connell, he can chip away at the lead. I know he had a better day today. Gardner struggled in the beginning, but all the reports were that in the second half of practice, he kind of turned it on and recovered. So, but the battle still rages on, right? They still have yet to decide on who the starter is. AP kind of talked about that today. Both guys are going to get substantial play time, so we'll see. We shall see.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, overall, I felt like AOC probably had the better day, but in the end, it sounds like it's pretty even. But what's going to say a lot is who's going to start that first preseason game at quarterback. I know it's going to be an ongoing competition, but I'm sure, like, and AP during the presser, he was asked who was going to start that game, and he didn't want to say. And he tried to downplay it a little bit. And I understand it's an ongoing competition. It's still going down the wire, it's still close, so he doesn't want to give the edge to anybody. But I think it's going to say a lot who he kind of starts off at quarterback, because it kind of tells you what they think, who they feel like has the lead as of right now. We heard about Paul Gutierrez, the beat writer for the former beat writer, the beat writer for ESPN, covers the Raiders. He kind of said that Gardner Minshew has the edge, and we've heard Gardner Minshew have made some plays out there, but then there were some struggles too. So we won't know, man. And I think it's going to come down to these preseason games, and that's probably going to be the ultimate because we got to give credit to the defense right now. I think the defense right now they're all over this offense. So we'll see how it looks like when we play a different team, a team that offensively we struggled against last year. So maybe, a guy like AOC and Minshew go out there and they put on a show. Who knows? Who knows? Or maybe Anthony Brown, man. He might have the greatest preseason game all time. We'll see, man. But yeah, man. Look, so that's the
I got a question for you. So do you think that AP not saying anything, not committing to who will start, do you think that in and of itself is a hint as to who will start, or do you think he's legit not saying it?
From what he said, he made it seem like what he told the media was like he's going to make that decision after Wednesday's practice. But I think he has an idea. I'm sure he has an idea, but he's just not going to say it out loud.
So who do you think it is? I don't put you on the spot.
I think I could see it being Minshew a little bit. I could see it being Minshew.
That's my opinion as well.
Because when the bullets are flying, I think Minshew probably showed up a little bit more. Because it's getting close. It's getting close. So every little play, every big turnover, and I think in the presser he mentioned like, well, Minshew, he tried to be measured about what he said about both quarterbacks. He said, well, Minshew, he made some plays out there, but he has some bad turnovers. He needs to clean that up. AOC is pretty accurate, and but I felt like he was way more positive with AOC maybe, and then he was a little bit more critical with Minshew, which kind of tells me like, all right, he's trying to like, all right, I think he's doing something there. So maybe I think it might be Minshew starting the game, and then AOC comes in, and we'll see, man. I just Minshew as starting quarterback is disgusting. I'm not gonna lie. Be honest with you, it's nasty.
I'm kind of that same mind as well, just because part of the reason was when we were starting off the off season, he had no problem saying, hey, at AOC, he's the guy, he's earned the opportunity, yada yada yada, and he said it was him. And if things are pretty much essentially at the same place where they were, if both guys are truly even, no guy has pulled away, then that would make you believe that, hey, if we're exactly where we were before, nobody has separated themselves, then AOC should be the guy who he had no reservations about saying was a guy earlier in the offseason. Now all of a sudden you haven't decided yet. And I think where the issue is that, we always talk about Minshew's turnovers, right? When the Bullets were live, Minshew had one turnover, and that was a pass that went off Trey Tucker's hand. So is that really his fault? On Aidan O'Connell, on the other hand, had no touchdowns and 2 turnovers. And he's the guy that's supposed to be the caretaker. He's supposed to be the guy that, hey, you know what? I take care of the ball. I keep us on schedule. So if that happens when the Bullets were live, and it's like what some people were saying is that like the competition is getting to him and he shrunk in the moment. That's what some people were saying. So if that's that situation there, it's like, is this the guy you really want to be the starter? Maybe it's too much for him right now.
And the thing is too, his lack of mobility is really a big issue. You know what I mean? It's a big issue, and he's not like if you're not able to get the ball out on time, if you're holding the ball and you're not mobile, you can't get away from the defensive line that's in front of you, or buy some time. That's a terrible combination. Yeah, you know what I mean. If you're not a mobile QB, you better get the ball out, and like you can't hold on to that ball. Like you got to be able to. You got to think fast, man. I think AOC might be, struggling with that, but we'll see, man. I think this preseason game, it's gonna be no matter who starts. I think it's gonna be a big sign, but then also how well they play. Yeah. I think that's gonna be big. How well do they play this game? I know we can talk about if Minshew gets to start, oh man, Minshew's gonna be started now, and but what happens if Minshew stinks it up and AOC has a good game? Like you see what happens there? It could still go either way. But you mentioned Trey Tucker, right? Trey Tucker was one of the guys that we were like kind of hyping up or looking forward to taking that next step this year. One of the big offseason guys that, they had a really good offseason. Even AP early on in the offseason mentioned how well how good he's looked, right? Yeah. But man, all I've been hearing is Trey Tucker drops this. Trey Tucker drop. He's made some plays out there, but man, his hands, man, they're showing up as inconsistent so far in camp, man. And I don't know. Do we look at? Are we going to be looking at the waiver wire at that receiver spot? I know we got Devontae Adams, Jacoby Myers, but then that third spot in today's NFL, I think that's a big position. But I guess the way it looks like how we're currently constructed, it probably won't even matter because we got Mayer at tight end and then guy who's gonna probably play big slot in Brock Bowers. So it might not even matter. But I'm just saying that's our speedy guy and his hands are questionable. But what are your thoughts on Trey Tucker, man? Like, do you think this is something that he can get over, or it's pretty concerning?
If I wouldn't be like I don't want to judge a guy off season drops, right? We all think back to, and there are two different like pedigrees of player, but we all think back to when Jamar Chase was selected, in the first round by the Bengals, so top 5, I believe. That whole entire offseason, he was dealing with drops, and then he comes out in the regular season and immediately stamps himself as one of one of the 5 or 6 best wide receivers in the NFL. It's a little bit different with Trey Tucker just because, like I said, the pedigree of prospect that they are. Jamar Chase was universally recognized as one of the top wide receiver prospects. Trey Tucker is a guy that was drafted in the 3rd round. A lot of people thought was overdrafted. And then he's also, Jamar Chase never really had a problem with drops before. This has been an issue with Trey Tucker that we thought he had resolved, and now it's starting to crop back up. So it is some cause for concern. As we kind of said before, I'm not ready to push that panic button yet. But my thumb is hovering over that panic button for Trey Tucker. If he doesn't get it together, I think we will see a lot more 12 personnel. We're going to probably keep like 4 tight ends, and we do have some young wide receivers that have been other young wide receivers who have been stepping up. So Trey Tucker was a guy that went from being one of AP's guys. He could end up being a guy that I don't think he gets cut, but it could be a guy that gets kind of phased out of the offensive game plan if he doesn't get it together.
Well, let's be honest though. Like, do you think that players' off-season successes or struggles translates into the how does it come out? What happens when it gets to the season? Does that translate well? Like in let's say Trey Tucker's case, like he's dropping like damn near everything that's coming at him. Like, I mean, he's making plays here and there, but do you think that's going to continue into the season? Is that something that's going to get better? Because usually this is the time where you clean up all that stuff, right? You got to come in. The guys that's playing well, usually that translates, okay, look, hey, Max looks great. Max has another great year. You know what I mean? Or this guy looks good. He's having another good year, or this guy's struggling, goes into the season. We're not, we're not surprised. Do you think that Trey Tucker can just somehow just turn on the switch and get better at that? Or is it something that he can get better within training camp? Because right now it looks like this is an issue he had last year and it's still happening.
Yeah, man. I would say Trey Tucker is catching some strays, but he'd probably drop those too. But seriously, man, I think Trey Tucker. I think Trey Tucker's issues are. I think it's similar to Aidan O'Connell, bro, where it is like these guys, they don't seem to be able to handle success, right? And that is the sign of somebody who was truly prepared, right? It's not about how you are in defeat. It's more so how you handle success or handle expectations. Once you're expected to do something, it's cool when there's no pressure and nobody expects you to do well. You can go out there and play good. But when somebody starts to expect you to put on that same performance and then that pressure is kind of on you, how do you react? And we kind of saw that with Aidan O'Connell, right? In that scrimmage, he's expected to be the guy. He's expected to be the leader of the team and have command of the offense, and he struggled. Trey Tucker, when he was kind of flying under the radar and nobody was expecting much of him, he was killing it. And then as soon as people start talking about how well he's playing and he could be a breakout player for us, and there's expectations on him, and then he starts struggling. So, and that's the scary part, right? Because, when those lights come on, you're expected to play well. Mm-hmm. And we want guys that can handle those expectations. So if we have a guy who I think we all want Aidan O'Connell to be the starter, just because what that would mean for our team organizationally, in terms of the cap and, what we can do in the draft, I think that would be the ideal situation. But if he can't handle the expectations, then obviously he won't be the guy. The same with Trey Tucker, right? We need that deep threat. We want our own drafted player to be the guy who can, stretch the field for us and, keep those guys out of the box open. That opens up things not only for Zamir White, but that opens things up underneath for Devontae and for Jacoby and for Brock and for Michael. But if he can't be that guy that we can rely on, then we might have to find that guy elsewhere. And we have some young undrafted wide receivers, one of whom has been playing well. And then we might have to, as you said, scour the waiver wire once these cuts start happening to maybe fill that void.
Yeah, man. Hey, man, shout out to Raiders Smoke again, man. Hey, man, he's just keeping up with the standard out here, man. I appreciate the support once again. He says, if you notice AP's conference, press conference sounds to me like he's leaning towards Minshew, but backs up AOC. Doesn't want to ruin his confidence in Minshew we trust. Yeah. That's how I took it, because he was he was a little bit more critical of Minshew because maybe he knows that, like, you know, Minshew's a veteran. He's been there, done that. He's probably a little bit more confident, more experienced. He can handle it. Then AOC, he just talked about, oh, he's accurate and he understands that players have been dropping passes from him, but he didn't really take any. He didn't have any criticisms for AOC like that. Yeah. So which tells me, like, he's trying to protect him. He doesn't want to go too hard on him. You know what I mean? So that's kind of how I took it. But we'll see, man. Hey, look, this Saturday, first preseason game. We can't wait to see who's going to start the game. I know the depth chart was released today. It looked kind of funky to me. I would put it up, but it was just like Live was all the way buried in the depth chart, and Britton Brown was the number 2-3 running back off. I was like, come on, man, that's no one believes that right there.
That was the thing that made it look bad for me. I was looking at it like, okay, this kind of makes sense, but then as soon as you pointed out that Laube was behind Britton Brown, I'm like, oh, come on, dog. Like, I'm a UCLA fan, but Britton Brown ain't making his team, man. He ain't making his team, dog. He's out of here, man. So,
man. He's gone, man. He gone. But we'll see, man. Hey, he could have like a great preseason game, but I think it might even be a tryout for another team. You know, to be honest with you, because if Zamir White plays well and Madison plays well, I think they're probably gonna lean towards that combination of running backs. And you got Laube, who, you know, they really like, man. I think he's versatile. He's going to give some in special teams. You know, he's that draft pick. This regime drafted him, so he has a lot going for him. So I think that they're going to be leaning towards him. So I think everybody else is going to be odd man out at that running back spot unless something happens. We don't know. But we've been talking about let's talk about the unexpected standouts. You know, who are your guys that come to your mind that are standing out right now in training camp? People that are no one's really talking about.
I mean, I gotta say a guy that I might have, you know, if you would have asked me before training camp started, this might have been a guy who I said would get cut, and that is Byron Young. I've been hearing some very good things about Byron Young. Yeah. As we all know, I was not a fan of that pick. You know, I really wanted us to draft Jalen Hyatt. And that would have taken care of our Byron Young problem and our Trey Tucker problem, to be honest with you. But I mean, but to hear that he's really turned it on, and you know, he's a guy that has really been impressing this camp. I think that is excellent to hear. And then, you know, another guy kind of off the radar, I kind of talked about him before, but the Cameron Richardson, you know, he's a corner that I did not, you know, really like. I did not want us to pick him, but he's been having a good camp, and just his size for the position and his speed, I think, is really showing up. You know, he's getting his hands on passes. It seems like every single practice, and he's really developing. And they were saying just not only on defense, but on special teams as well. He's a guy that can make an impact there. And we all know that, you know, when you're a young player like that, you know, initially, if you aren't going to get on the field, the special teams is where you kind of going to get a lot of your playing time and make your biggest impact. So to hear that he not only is he doing well when he gets an opportunity at corner, but he's also playing well in special teams, I think that is a big development.
Yeah. Now, you mentioned some guys, and we're going to talk about a couple players later on too as well. You guys probably been hearing their names as well, but, you know, but guys that, you know, are not the quote unquote star players that, you know, don't really get all the press, but they're playing well. We'll get into notable quotable, which was pretty good by former head coach Marvin Lewis, who's on the staff. But another guy that I kind of seen that, you know, we're talking about that receiver position, Trey Tucker. But outside of Trey Tucker, you know, the depth. Who's going to make that team? DJ Turner is a guy that, you know, from, you know, just hearing AP talk about him, he seems like a key special teams core player. And if he gives anything on offense, that's even a major plus. So I think that just guarantees his spot. But then Ramal Keaton, former wide receiver out of Tennessee, undrafted free agent. I keep hearing his name.
Yeah.
And he's a guy that can possibly make the team, especially with Michael Gallup retiring. But he's making plays out there. I think he got on with the twos. So that's big for a guy that's undrafted. You know what I mean? So, shout out to him. I think that's a guy that's been playing well, and he's kind of he's trying to vie for that wide receiver spot on the team. But shout out to him, man. Those are the unexpected standouts. But another thing I wanted to talk about too, man, and shout out to everybody in chat, man. Make sure to clock in, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell, all that good stuff, man. We appreciate everybody coming through, man. Jack Jones, Jack Jones is out here returning kicks.
Yes,
and not just returning kicks, he's also a kicker. They got him over here kicking kicks. Shout out to the beat writers, man. They on it, man. They're seeing everything that's going on the football field. And they said that he was out there kicking, due to the changes with the NFL kickoff and all that type of stuff. And we'll talk about that in a little bit. The Raiders are thinking outside the box right now. Yeah. And what they're saying is that Jack Jones was not also just returning kicks. He was also, kicking as well. So I'm thinking, the logic there is maybe they want someone more athletic, a guy that could be a better tackler. Because think about it, the rule changes are to basically push teams to return kicks. Yeah. We might see more. We might see more kickoffs for touchdowns this year, just based off the rules. And the way it's set up, it's like, the way it's set up, the last line of defense is the kicker. It's always been like that, but literally, after that first wall, it's one-on-one with the kicker. So you probably want a guy that's able to be, that's athletic enough and a sure tackler. Maybe have a linebacker over there kicking. I don't know, man. Safety or something. But they got Jack Jones out there, man. How do you feel about that? Because first thing that come to my mind, I'm like, I don't know if I want the starting corner out there on special teams. I just don't. I'm not a big believer in that, man. I have someone that's maybe on the back end of the depth chart that can provide that value. I don't want starters to come in unless it's like the fourth quarter, overtime. Yeah. I know you mentioned you threw out an idea of maybe I think was it you? We were talking about Brock Bowers.
Yeah,
maybe.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? As a that's a random outside of the box right there. But what are your initial thoughts when you hear Jack Jones returning kicks and also kicking?
Yeah, man, I'm of that same mind as you, where I don't want that guy out there returning kicks. Maybe, and I didn't even know he was doing that well. I threw out the idea of Brock Bowers if we're in a fourth quarter situation where we need a score, we need to get in the field goal range quickly when we give the ball to Brock. But maybe Jack Jones is that guy. I heard he's been, he never gets tackled by the first line of defense down there. He usually is putting something together real nice on his kickoff. So maybe that's the guy. Hey, in emergency situations, throw Jack Jones back there. But in terms of him kicking, I think that is an interesting idea. But I don't like it, and we'll get into this later, because of the changes to the rule, right? Where it is now you have that landing zone where the ball has to land. So you need a guy that doesn't necessarily just have a strong leg, but is accurate with that leg, because it can be very punitive to your team if the ball does not go into that landing zone and is able to be returned by the receiving team. So if he proves that he can consistently kick into that landing zone, I think that will be a boon for us, because having that extra guy on the field that is an actual tackler, I think that does help. But if he cannot consistently kick into that landing zone, then that could be a situation where we're giving the opposing team the ball on the 30 or 40 yard line on a consistent basis. And that's not something you want to do, even with our defense as good as it is.
Yeah, that's true. And for me, you looked at it from a strategic standpoint as far as a guy that can consistently kick it off. But I'm looking at it for hey, look, I don't even want Jack Jones returning kicks.
Yeah.
If he was like a third or fourth, fifth stringer, all right. You know what I mean? But he's our starting corner. If he goes down, that impacts the team a lot. And I know we have some depth, but let's not push it. You know what I mean? Let's not risk it. I don't feel like that's a good risk. But maybe in certain moments, like in big time moments, if you feel real good about Jack Jones in fourth quarter, okay, I don't mind that. You know what I mean? Those are good spots to put like maybe your best players, guys that that has a nose for the end zone. I get that, but like as a full-time kick returner, I don't like that. But we'll see, man. That's like one of those things that we got to keep an eye out, and we'll see what they do in this first preseason game. Who's going to be out there? I think it's going to be like Trey Tucker or something like that. Trey Tucker.
Trey Tucker can't hold the ball, bro. I wouldn't trust somebody.
Yeah, I know.
Maybe Dylan Lobby, I would see that. If Tulu was healthy, I think that will make a lot of sense as well. Just because, as you alluded to, there's going to definitely be way more kickoff returns for touchdowns this year, just by virtue of there's going to be more opportunities. Like there's going to be so many more kicks that are actually being returned that I think that just lends itself to having more kickoffs returned for touchdowns. So special teams are going to be a very vital part. They're bringing back special teams. They're reviving special teams. Initially, it was just really, hey, do you have a good kicker? Can he make long field goals? Do you have a good punter that can flip field position? But now it really becomes that much more important, you having a guy that can return kicks well, because that can also flip field position for your team in an instant. And we all know field position is a premium in the NFL.
Yeah, it's funny too, because now like what would change everything? Because I know over here we're talking about like Trey Tucker, because y'all in the chat, man. Shout out to y'all, man. We're trying to get to everybody in the chat as well. And I see y'all talking about Trey Tucker, but what? It would be interesting if like Trey Tucker was a monster in special teams, but like obviously offensively he's probably not all the way there yet. He probably has a case of, but if he gives us a couple of touchdowns to the house this year from special teams, hey, I'll let bygones be bygones.
Look, man.
Yeah.
Now go ahead.
No, because I was gonna say like it's not like we're gonna be dependent on him to be the number one option on this defense. I mean, on this offense. You got Devontae, he's gonna get his. You got Jacoby Myers, he's gonna get his. You got the tight ends. Trey Tucker is more so are gonna be relied on to really stretch the field in key spots or to get some big plays out of this offense, which hopefully we can get out of him. But as far as like being a consistent guy to catch the ball, we understand like he's that's not gonna be his role. But if he can give us anything in special teams, but I'm not sure if he can be that special teams guy. I know he got the speed, but like just the way you would think that it's going to be a guy that knows that would break some tackles, that has a little bit of vision. Do you see that in Trey Tucker?
I really don't see that, to be honest with you, man.
Yeah.
And when we first drafted him, I said, kind of his ceiling, or like, people were talking about him, like, making an impact on the team. I said his ceiling, in my opinion, was Dante Hall. And we all know Dante Hall was, he was one of the best, returners of all time. So if we get anything close to that, and then he turned out to be, he was able to contribute on offense as well for the Chiefs. If we get anything close to that, I would be happy with that. But I don't know if he has that fit, that vision, and that shiftiness to be a guy that can be an effective returner.
All right, yeah. Before we move on, man, to flag on a play, man. Hey, man, shout out Sam Tanka. Man, I don't know how we forgot about this guy, man. DJ Glaze.
Oh, yeah.
Hey, DJ Glaze.
We
were. Hey, you know what? Look, I was one of those guys scratching my head when we drafted him. Was in the third round, I believe. I think we drafted him in the third round, right? The third round. I was like, DJ Glaze. It seems like we a little bit overdrafted. He was projected to go in the later rounds. Did the Telesco reach for this guy? But man, he's out there, competing. And I'm talking, when I say competing, he's out there with the starters. And I think, Mumford might be hurt right now. He's still out there, but he might be a little bit hurt. But DJ Glaze is coming in, and from what we're hearing, he's holding his own. You heard You heard AP talk about him. He's, obviously he's going against some talented pass rushers. He's going to lose some battles, but like they're really impressed with him competing and holding his own. And at the very least, man, it sounds like he might be the Raiders swing tackle. And if he's really that good, he might be the starting right tackle. That'd be one of the biggest surprise coming out of training camp if he takes that spot, because no one saw that coming. But shout out to DJ Glaze. DJ Glaze, definitely one of the guys that are unexpected standouts for sure. I don't know how we forgot about that, man. But what are your thoughts on Glaze, man?
Yeah, same thing, man.
I need to get a pause,
right?
I need to get a pause.
That is a big pause. But nah, man. That is he's another man. As a guy, I really wasn't a fan of that pick either. I wasn't a fan of the pick just because I felt we needed a guy that can make a more immediate impact, right? Like basically everybody was saying, hey, he's more of a developmental guy. He has some traits. He has super long arms. He has, good feet. It just, he needs some development and some seasoning. But to hear that he's already, ahead of the curve with the some of the attributes he already has, I think that's really putting Thayer Munford on notice, just because he has what Thayer lacks, and that is he has much more foot mobility. Thayer, he's kind of slow-footed. He lacks agility, so he's going to struggle, especially struggle with speed. That's why Max has been, dogging him all the time, and that's why I think that was why Glaze had some of his success against Max, because Max was been beating up on Andres Pete, who's a slow-footed guy, and Thayer Munford, who's a slow-footed guy. Then you get a guy that actually has some foot mobility in there, and then you have to adjust. And it took him a little while to adjust, and then once he made the adjustment, he got right back to being Max. But I think that there'll be interesting development, man, if we're able to get a starter out of DJ Glaze. And then that allows Munford to kind of be our swing tackle, because Munford talked about in the past, he prefers playing left, but he will play right, to get on the field. But, that kind of lets Munford stay in that role where he can be, competent at left tackle and at right tackle. And that really solidifies the depth on the offensive line.
Yeah, man. AJ Simpson makes a good point here. Says the kickoff now is a big-ass run play. I think if we may see teams keep more running backs on their roster because of it. Hey, good point. That might be a good point right there. Because I feel like the way the rules are set up, I think it takes a certain type of runner. I know, Severe, you mentioned like not just running backs, but even receivers, certain types of receivers too. That if they're going to be out there kicking off, you mentioned Cordell Patterson, Joshua Cribbs. Those guys are like kind of bigger, more guys that that have that ability to break tackles. As well as they have that speed, but they're physical runners, and they have to have vision, obviously. That's why, AJ Simpson, you're mentioning running back. So, yeah, hey, man, that's a good point, man. Maybe your guy, Britton Brown, finds a way to –
Britton Brown he's way too slow, bro. He is way too slow.
Hey, we'll see, man. Hey, man,
maybe Sincere McCormick.
But he's slow, too. He's
He's solid. He says solid speed. He's way faster than Britton Brown, man.
Yeah, man. Hey, look, man. Hey, look. It's that time. It is that time, y'all, man. Hey, look, man. It's flag on the play.
Personal foul, 69, offense. He was giving them the business.
Man, this is, we don't want to do it, but we got to do it, man. We got to talk about some of the things that we don't agree with that happen around the NFL, especially or regarding the Raiders. In this case, man,
yeah,
I was disgusted. My first reaction was just disgust. I'm gonna be honest with you. It's the Raider fan in me. It is the Raider fan in me, and I'm gonna go ahead and put this on here before I even say anything, man. I'm just gonna put this on the screen for y'all to see. As you can see, look, let me put it down real quick here. So, all right, as you can see, man, it's former Raiders head coach Jon Gruden. He shows up. He shows up, man, at Kansas City Chiefs training camp. And from what they're saying, they brought him in to advise the offense, see what they can do, what they can improve. If it's a permanent role, we don't know. It could possibly be he might end up getting a consultant role. We don't know at this point. But they brought him in to help out the offense. But I feel like Jon Gruden, man, come on, man.
Yeah,
you didn't think we were gonna see this, man? You didn't think we were gonna see you dressed up in this? I guess Jon Gruden is like, if you can't beat him, join him. That's pretty much what he's saying here, man. I was disgusted. I actually put out a poll today, man. Just to, I just wanted to see where Raider Nation kind of felt about this, because I was disgusted. I didn't like this at all. It's bad enough that, the Raiders back in the day, when I say back in the day, back in 2002, when the Raiders went to the Super Bowl, they lose against a team that used to be their former head coach, and Jon Gruden was the head coach of the Tampa Bay Bucks, and they lose against Jon Gruden in the Super Bowl. That's bad enough, right? But you know what? I let bygones be bygones. At the end of the day, like, he was traded there. It's not like it was his choice to go there. But this was definitely a choice. He woke up that morning, was like, you know what? I'm gonna go see my buddy Andy Reid, the head coach of the Kansas City Chiefs, and I'm gonna dress up in Kansas City Chiefs gear. But to be fair, I guess this is pretty standard. I think a lot of teams do this. That anytime they bring in guests, they usually kind of give them like Raiders gear or whatever team gear. But it's still come on, man. It just doesn't look good. But man, what are your thoughts, Severe, man? What do you think about this?
Yeah, man, that's just disgusting, man. That is disgusting, bro. that is. He looked like he lost some weight. He looked like he lost some weight too. He does look like he lost some weight. I was just thinking about that. He got all this free time in his hand. He got but yeah, man, it's like, this dude struggled to beat the Chiefs. I know he's friends with Andy Reid. They were on the coaching staff, on Mike Holmgren's coaching staff, I believe, together.
Green Bay.
So, I know they're buddies, but at this point, bro, you've been the coach of the Raiders twice. Like, you've been the Raiders head coach twice. So you should be the last person out here, kicking it with the Chiefs. And even if so, bro, like, don't rock no Chiefs shirt, bro. Just be out there in a white T-shirt, right? Rock a white T-shirt, man. A generic hat, and call it a day, man. This is unacceptable. Unacceptable.
Yeah. He should have broke. Andy Reid should have been like, he should have been understanding, like, hey, you know what, Andy Reid, man, you my boy, but I got to show up in like white, like you said, white T-shirt. I gotta be. I'll help you out. But just I can't dress up. Just have some self-respect, man. I thought you loved being a Raider coach, man. I thought you was a Raider through and through. But
exactly.
This is another proof that at the end of the day, it's a business. We're joking around and stuff like that. We understand it's a business. Players change teams, coaches change teams, but it just, I don't know. It didn't feel right though. It didn't feel right to see Jon Gruden, Kansas City Chiefs gear, just all like, and helping him out too, just to hear that he was just what he can do to improve the offense. And you give Andy Reid, oh man, I don't know. It was tough to watch, man, but it is what it is. I put out a poll earlier today just to ask Raider Nation, man, how they felt about it. Let me go ahead, if I could share this real quick. Here, let's see. I don't know if y'all can see this, man. I said, did Jon Gruden ruin his Raiders legacy by showing up to Chiefs training camp dressed in the team's red gear? 81% yes, never help out the enemy. And then 19% said no, once a Raider, always a Raider. So, there's some people out there that are like, that are, they still got love for Jon Gruden, but 81%, hey, man, Raider Nation, man, I feel y'all on this, man. This is definitely flag on the play. Perfect example right there, a flag on the play. I know the chat is going crazy on this one because everybody was talking about this when it first came out, which it happened yesterday, I believe, right? Let me see if we can pull up some
Yeah.
comments here.
And what pisses me off is that it's not like Jon Gruden. He shouldn't be hurting for money. Like, bro, you got broke off. Like, you was getting 10 a year for several years. So it's not like you just out here destitute and you broke. And what's even worse, and we'll talk about that too. But what's even worse is that Deuce Gruden still works for us. His son is still a Raider. And so, bro, you over there helping out the enemy.
Is he still getting paid?
Jon Gruden, I believe Jon Gruden is still getting paid by us. I don't know because I don't know if he was because he may not be. Maybe the terms of his contract are up now, but if he's fired for cause, we could avoided that money. But Mark Davis ain't that kind of dude where he gonna try to do you like that. Especially a guy like Jon Gruden who was his dog, who he had pursued to be the head coach for a long time, who he didn't really want to fire. The NFL kind of forced his hand on it, so I think he's probably still getting paid. But then Deuce Gruden is still working for us too. So like we got Jon Gruden getting paid by the Raiders and Deuce Gruden getting paid by the Raiders, and you over there rocking Chiefs gear, bro. That's disgusting, man. That's like, bro,
terrible, man.
That's
terrible, man. But shout out to Raider Smoke once again, man. He says Tommy Pop Smoke Eichenberg. Let's talk about it. So I'm assuming that he's one of the guys that you feel like are standing out in training camp. I mean, he's a guy that's been making some plays too as well. Man, this rookie draft class.
Yeah, the rookie draft
early returns. It's still early. It's way too early.
Very
but we haven't heard anything bad about him. Like all we've heard is like them making plays.
Yeah, MJ Devonshire had a pick on Aidan O'Connor the other day.
Trey Taylor,
Ramel Keaton is playing well.
Undrafted guy.
Yeah, Trey Taylor, Dylan Lobby, of course, DJ Glaze, DeCamion Richardson. My favorite pick of the draft is the only guy that's not contributing. That's the only guy that's not contributing right now
because he's hurt. Because he's hurt. Yeah, Jackson Powers Johnson. Hopefully he gets back soon. Yeah. But that's a guy that a lot of us are high on because he upgrades that interior O line, probably future center for the Raiders. We'll see, man. But hey, man. Raider Smoke again. Stock market is crashing. Glaze a starter. Gruden in Chiefs gear. Oh yeah, the world's coming to an end for sure. Yeah, man. Look, I'm surprised about DJ, man. But we'll see, man. It's a good thing though. It's a great thing. And Tom Telesco, potentially, is so far so good. But there's potential that this might be the best draft since 2016.
Clark, Lil Mac,
yeah, potentially. Like if
2014.
If we're getting contributors all the way through the draft like this, and DeCamion Richardson, he's making plays out there, and AP, he kind of stopped short of saying that he could possibly compete for a starting role. He stopped right there because he didn't want to put that out there, but that they're really high on him, and. Man, and the crazy thing is I did not see this coming, man. I did not see this coming. Certain picks, not all the picks, but there are certain picks I was like, I don't know. But, Tommy T, man. Tommy T, shout out to him.
Yeah, DeCamion and DJ Glaze were the two guys where I didn't see it at all, especially not this year. Because DeCamion had all the measurables. He ran running the fastest 40s. He's a tall corner. Has long arms, I think his athletic scores were off the chart. But I compared him to Isaiah Johnson, right? Who was another guy who actually tested better than DeCamion Richardson, but was never able to figure it out in the league. But the key difference between those guys is that Isaiah Johnson was a converted wide receiver who was playing corner. And DeCamion Richardson is a guy who had been playing corner, basically his entire collegiate career. So if he can get it figured out, man, that is just that adds more depth to the team for us. That gives us more options. And then DJ Glaze, he's a guy that we saw the PFF scores. He had one of the best pass block ratings in all of college football. We're kind of worried, but I was worried about his strength at the point of attack. But what I didn't consider, and I should have thought about it, is that we're in a zone blocking scheme. There's not as much of a premium on having strength. That's what the Broncos were able to build there. Mike Shanahan, Mike Shanahan was able to build those good offensive linemen, those good offensive lines, rather, with offensive linemen that were drafted later or undrafted free agents, because he wasn't looking for these big, burly, strong guys. He was looking for guys that were smart and who had athleticism. And I think that, we're going to see even better line play come the preseason game, in my opinion, because when you're on these scrimmages, even though they're live contact, I'm sure they're not letting these guys cut block, right? You don't want anybody diving at anybody's knees, especially on your own team. So once they're able to start, cutting guys, I think we're going to see even better line play out of these people. So I think that, we could be in for some very, very good run blocking and pass blocking.
Shout out Minnesota Vikings D line, man. They gonna be in for it. Hopefully they're gonna have a long day on Saturday, man. But Night Owl says Gruden is jealous of AP. That's a nice theory right there. Maybe he's mad AP's kind of taking his thunder. You know what I mean? Because AP's kind of like we haven't been excited about a head coach for a while. I think AP kind of brings that excitement for a head coach, because we're thinking about the possibilities of him being the guy, because that head coach position is one of the important spots on the football team, next to the quarterback. But look, Cool Kez Gruden looking for that free KC barbecue. Hey, that's possible for sure. All eyes on G is pretty much customary to where the teams get year. Yeah, I know, but Gruden knows better. Come on, I'm sure he knew what he was doing. Come on.
Yeah, you know what time. Or know what? Just don't go visit the Chiefs. How about that?
Yeah, how about that? Like maybe just do a Zoom call or something like that. Like
exactly. Like we was all good with them with the Saints last year, right? We didn't have this problem with the Saints last year because they're not a rival. Like you go into the rival, especially a rival who you let basically stomp a mud hole in you several occasions. Like, bro, don't do that.
Yeah, man. Yeah, I know, Ray. Man, not a good look. I didn't like it. At all, but it is what it is. Let me look through here, man. We appreciate everybody. Hey, make sure to clock in if you haven't already. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell. We are going live on both our channels, so you want to make sure you're subscribed to both our channels, and also hit that notification bell so you'll be notified when we go live, drop new content, and like the video, man. We appreciate the support. We want to keep coming back and doing this, man. And the least you can do is just hit that like button, man. We appreciate y'all, man. Hey, look, man. Hey, that's not the only flag on the play that we have, man. Yeah. That's not the only flag on the play that we have. And the second one here is we kind of talked about it a little bit earlier. It's the rule changes, the kickoff rule changes, and specifically, man, like the way that they're going to be taking away the strategic advantage of using the onside kick.
Yeah.
And I believe, Severe, if you want to, talk about it a little bit, but I believe they're taking that ability to use the onside kick before the fourth quarter.
Exactly.
So if you guys remember, in the past, for example, Sean Payton just randomly after halftime, doing an onside kick just to throw you off, like those days are going to be long gone according to these rules. You got to wait till the fourth quarter, and you got to announce. You got to let them know that this is coming, so it just takes a lot of the unpredictability out the game for me. But what are your thoughts on this, Severe? Let the people know what the changes look like.
Yeah, so as you said, you can't even do an onside kick until the fourth quarter. You have to announce that you're going to do an onside kick, as you kind of already alluded to. But you can't do an onside kick unless you're down. So you have to be losing to do an onside kick. So we've seen, in the past, some coaches use strategery, and they strategically, come out with an unexpected onside kick to try to double up and get an extra possession for their offense, even if they had to have the lead, right? I think Sean Payton had the lead in the Super Bowl. He did it in, if I recall correctly. But now you can't even do that anymore, right? You can't hit them with the surprise onside kick. You can only do it in the fourth quarter. You can only do it if you're down, and you must announce it. So I think that just takes some strategy out of the game. I don't really see a real reason why. I don't know if there's some data out there that says the collisions that happen on onside kicks are more dangerous or anything like that. Like I don't know. Maybe the NFL is privy to that information, but I haven't seen anything that says that these plays are any more dangerous than any of these other plays. And I don't know why you would take away a coach's freedom like that. You know, you're supposed to be adding more excitement to the game. I think onside kick, especially a surprise one, I think that's a very, very exciting play, a very pivotal play that can really change the outcome of a game, and to take away a coach's option to do that, it just doesn't make sense to me. Doesn't make sense.
Yeah, man. I hate that. I hate that. I'm all for making the game more competitive, but when you just take away certain things that made kind of the game exciting, that gave a little bit of unpredictability, it was part of, you know, the team being strategic and when they want to do certain things like that, especially if you want to come back. It's going to be hard to come back if you think about it. Like, if you can't do no onside kicks, and you got to almost like, I mean, it's not impossible, but it's just going to be a little bit harder. Especially if you wanted to do, let's say if you want to do an onside kick maybe before the fourth quarter, that's not going to be possible anymore. So to me, flag on the play. I don't like it. And, you know, obviously Severe is not a fan of it as well. But, you know, it is what it is, man. That's pretty much our flags on the play this week. Man, a lot of people are kind of talking about the Gruden. And we'll get into the chat right now and talk about, I believe, All Eyes says is the RaiderNation is emotional. I don't know if I'm like emotional about it. It's just you can't. I was disgusted. You know, that's exactly. It's just like what was it? Come on, man, John. You're supposed to be a Raider. You know, you're supposed to be you had a 10-year contract with the Raiders. What happened to that? Man? What? You know, I know you got friends around the league. I know, you know, I get it. It just doesn't look good. I think. All Eyes says, how well did he help the Saints last year? It ain't going to help KC. Laugh out.
I think that was more of a Derek Carr problem than.
Are you sure? Yeah. Are you sure? You know, who was the offensive coordinator last year for the Saints? Is he not fired? You know what I mean? Like he's no longer with the team. I think it was Peter. Was it Peter Carmichael? I believe was the OC last year.
Pete Carmichael.
Yeah, Saints fans, from what I hear, they didn't like him at all before the season, during the season, and after the season. He's gone, and you know, Dennis Allen made the move. They were able to get I believe the QB coach from San Francisco, who, you know, I think I was one of those.
Was it Clint Kubiak?
Clint Kubiak. I was like, man, the Raiders can get him. That'd be a nice little. Get someone from Shanahan's coaching tree, which, you know, you can't go wrong if you just look at history. But you know, it is what it is. But I think it was a different situation, like you just mentioned, different quarterback, different offensive coordinator. At the end of the day, you got the people that in the building got to be able to take that information. And Jon Gruden knows his stuff, man. I'm not taking anything away from him, but you know, it's funny. I always felt like Jon Gruden, he knew how to like formation wise, like he would do things outside the box and he would throw teams off. It was just as a play caller, that's where he kind of he was hit or miss, especially in the red zone and in short yardage situations. I felt like that's where he kind of struggled at. But you give a guy like Andy Reid, what? Jon Gruden? I don't like that. I don't like that combination.
Yeah, man. Jon Gruden has an extensive playbook as well. I mean, but Andy Reid, I'm sure Andy Reid does too. We hear about stories about like Jon Gruden's like playbook looks like a damn like, you know, the old, like if you're young you don't remember these, but those old school phone books where it's just pages upon pages of plays. You know, he has that extensive of a playbook. But like you said, man, just as a play caller, and it wasn't necessarily. It was more so his lack of aggression. Right, he's not a guy that was really too aggressive. He oftentimes he got too conservative, you know, and I think that's what really hurt, you know, our teams, and I think that that really hurt Tampa Bay as well. He was able to get away with it early in Tampa Bay because their defense was so good. But when you don't have that kind of defense to kind of back you up, and you have to put up points, like you can't afford to be that conservative. So when he had his success here, ironically, the last time the Raiders had a good defense was when we had Jon Gruden, and that's why it worked, because he was able to be conservative, and the defense still was able to bail him out on occasions, and he had an MVP quarterback as well.
Yeah, man. But hopefully it doesn't mean anything, and it is what it is. But like, definitely, that was definitely one of our flags on the play. Man, hey, make sure to hit that like button, hit that subscribe, hit that notification bell, man. Make sure to clock in, man. That's how we say it on this channel. Clock in. We appreciate everybody coming through. The show will continue, man. But before we get in, we gotta get into the chat. The NFL is like the WWE. Yeah. I definitely think it's an entertainment. It's the focus is entertainment. Like the storylines.
He's saying it's scripted. I don't know if he's saying they pick the winners and losers in advance. Is that what he's alluding to?
Didn't Arian Foster say that it was scripted? Remember, I feel like shout out to Arian Foster. I think he was on a podcast a few years ago. Where he said like, "Oh, the NFL's scripted and this, that, and the third." But I mean, I'll say that it's definitely an entertainment league for sure. Yeah, 100%. I think they feed off the storylines, the drama. Like they feed off all of that, man, and they capitalize it. They like, just look at NFL films. Just look at NFL films, man. All they do is just make everything into like a story and just make it super dramatic. But it is what it is.
Nah, yeah.
Huey P says that rule sucks. Takes surprise element out the game. Yeah, facts.
Yeah,
100%. 100%, man. 18 games coming. Marty Mark.
Oh,
man.
definitely.
Yeah,
definitely.
Sure. Yeah,
that's not even a question. That's maybe next year.
Yeah. Nah. I think the NFL they all about the money, so they're definitely gonna make that. They're gonna make that soon. Yeah. They're gonna make that happen soon, and probably gonna make what? We're at 3 preseason games. They might take one of them out, right?
They'll take it down to 2. I mean, they talked about it in the past and expanding rosters, expanding practice squads as they do it, possibly adding additional bye week. I wouldn't be opposed to that. If they do that stuff to take care of the players, expand rosters, add an additional bye week, I'm good with that. If they want to go 18 games.
Yeah, man. Salute, man. Appreciate you coming through, Raider Room, man.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
One of the IG Kings out there, man. Make sure to go over there and follow Raider Room. Appreciate you coming through. But yeah, let's move it along, man. No, we got notable quotables, man.
Yes.
Notable quotables. This is where we talk about, quotes that we felt like stood out recently. And this one was Marvin Lewis, man. Marvin Lewis, who's on a coaching staff. He was talking about like players that he felt like stood out to him, he feels like that might take that next step. They're going to be that breakout player on this defense, on this team. And he didn't hesitate when he was asked. And I'm going to go ahead and play this clip real quick. 1 second here. Let me set it up. 1 second. I just had it up here. 1 second. Boom, boom. So look, Marvin Lewis. Here we go.
Practice. I mean, the defense always looks better than the offense this early in camp, but also is there a player that you think could take a really big leap forward this year based on what you've seen early on?
Adam Butler.
See,
he was going. Oh,
take that to the bank because when a coach answers that quickly, this is a man that's seen a lot of football. We should be watching Adam Butler.
Yeah, Adam Butler, Divine Diablo. To me, those two yesterday stood out as taking the next step. What their coaches have been asking them to do. That's the thing. I mean, I mean, I love Nate Hobbs so much and what he did through last season, and for him to continue to do this now. He was upset because we wouldn't let him in the 9-on-7 drill.
Yeah.
He come running down there.
Right. Let me get in.
You'll have your time.
Yeah.
And so right away, the first time where team play comes to him, I said, look, see.
Man, he didn't hesitate at all.
At all.
He did not hesitate at all. And Adam Butler has been making plays left and right from what we're hearing. He had a pressure the other day where you could tell he had a big chip on his shoulder. He talked about being a complete player, being a guy that wants to be able to stay on the football field. And in order for him to do that, he's got to be able to stop the run. You know, we'll see during these actual games, preseason games, but during training camp, they said he's been making plays. He's been a standout player. Definitely one of the guys that we could have talked about that stood out. Yeah. And I was kind of surprised Divine Diablo. That's a great sign. Great sign.
Great sign. Great sign. I mean, I didn't bring up Adam Butler just because I've been saying since last year I thought Adam Butler was an underrated player on the team. He was one of my unsung heroes from last season. I was very happy with that signing. If for nothing else, then the time he was putting in with Tyree, who I think we'll probably be getting into in a minute. But I know a lot of people have been big fans of Tommy Eichenberg, and like I said, Tommy Eichenberg, he kind of started out like gangbusters. AP gave him a shout out, and then what has he really done since then? My issue with Tommy Eichenberg was not necessarily him as a prospect. I still think he's only a 2-down linebacker, but it's the fact that we passed on Spencer Rattler for Tommy Eichenberg. And Spencer Rattler, some people in New Orleans are thinking he could very soon challenge to be a QB1 there. If he was on this roster, he would easily be the most talented quarterback on this roster as well. So that was my issue there. But the fact that Marvin Lewis brought up Divine Diablo unprompted, that kind of tells me that, Divine Diablo, in terms of just physical gifts, he's much more gifted than any linebacker on our roster, to be honest with you, just in physical gifts. I think his problem is that he doesn't yet have the instincts of a linebacker because he spent such a long time playing safety. So I think he's still adjusting to it. And he talked about it. He talked about, hey, he's watching Spillane. He's watching Eichenberg because those guys move like linebackers. He still moves like a safety. So I think he needs to flip that switch. But it seems that the new coaching he's really taken to it. And the fact that Marvin Lewis talked about what the coaches are teaching him, he's applying it on the field. And not just applying it in practice sessions, he applied it in a scrimmage, which is, basically as close to a game situation as you can get in a practice setting. So I think that is very promising because he is a guy that, ideally you want him out there in third down situations. I'd much rather have him out there than a guy like Tommy Eichenberg, even than a guy like Luke Masterson, to be honest with you.
Yeah, and Divine Diablo talked about also like how he came into last season a little bit bigger than he usually is, added a lot of muscle, a lot of weight, and he didn't really feel good out there. He got hurt, and he probably didn't play the way he wanted to, so he kind of lost some weight this offseason, got back to more a weight that he feels more comfortable with. Hopefully it translates to him being better on the football field, better in coverage. Like he has all the athleticism in the world, but it was surprising that he struggled in coverage.
Exactly.
So hopefully that goes to what you're talking about. Maybe the instincts at that position need to catch up, and hopefully he, from what it says from Marvin Lewis, he's saying he's taking to the coaching. He's taking what he's learning from the coaching staff, and he's putting out on the football field. So hopefully it translates on Sundays. Yeah,
hopefully, man. Hopefully. I mean, I think that is a promising development, and it could be a situation where it's coaching is the issue, right? Coaching could have been an issue there. I think we saw some people's growth being stunted because of the lack of coaching, or they weren't taking to the style of coaching that was being implemented last year. I think we think about Malcolm Kuntz as one of the guys immediately who, as soon as we start to see a little bit of a different style of coaching, he immediately starts to producing. So maybe it's the same situation with Diablo, right? I think during that transition, I think he might have been banged up. so he really didn't get the full benefit of having that exposure and that time under an AP regime. And now that he's kind of getting it, he's flourishing. So we'll see if that translates into the season. It's still very early in the process for everybody, right? But so far, having a guy in like Marvin Lewis, who was defensive coordinator for the Ravens, who had a guy by the name of Ray Lewis, I think that is a very, very promising sign for a linebacker.
Yeah, that's a good point, man. People forget that he was the defensive coordinator for, an all-time great defense or great defenses for the Baltimore Ravens, and then obviously longtime head coach for the Bengals as well. That had some good defenses as well. It made Paul Gunther look good. You know what I mean? He made,
fact.
Made Paul Gunther look good. He gave that guy an opportunity, a job at defensive coordinator for the Raiders, man. Because when he came to the Raiders, man, he got exposed. He got exposed. But Alex says hopefully Diablo is getting it and learning because he needs to be more aggressive and making tackles for shorting gains. Yep. Yeah, let's hope, man. Daniel Kim has a question for you, Severe. He says, who's your QB in the next year's class?
Man, I don't know. I really don't like any of the early QBs. I have to study some more of them. A guy who I really wasn't really that high on this past draft class, who's going to a new school. I think he has the opportunity to play a little bit in a different offense. Is a guy named Cam Ward. He's a guy that he played at Washington State. He threw the ball a lot. Has some mobility to him as well. So I'm interested to see what he does this year. I wasn't really high on him if he came out this past year, just because I had a lot of quarterbacks in front of him. But in this class is a little bit of a weaker class. I think he's a guy that we can see him like kind of shoot up some draft boards. I know a guy that's at the top of a lot of people's boards is Beck. I'm not really that big of a fan of Beck. Strong arm guy, not a lot of touch. Has some accuracy issues in my opinion, some ball placement issues. Same thing with Quinn Ewers as well. Those guys both have rockets, but you get into those issues with accuracy and ball placement. So that's really what's going to separate guys from in an NFL from the collegiate level is, can you put the ball where it needs to be, when it needs to be there. And that's what we saw. A guy who I was high on early on, CJ Stroud, he came right into the league and he started, he dominated because, as he called him, he was a ball placement specialist. So we'll see. But it's still a lot of time. Nobody really expected Jaden Daniels to do what he did last year. Then he shot up draft boards and ended up being the number 2 overall pick. So we could see a guy do that this year as well.
Yeah, man, and that's not the only notable quotable we have, man. We got one more, man. We kept it positive with Marvin Lewis. We like that. We wanted to talk about that, but also this is a guy that I was looking forward to hear from and see during training camp. Hopefully some good things. A guy that we were I think RaiderNation, we could say, was excited about with all these off-season, pressers with him, and like we seen a picture of him. He looks like a man amongst boys. Tyree Wilson. Yes. But Vic Tafur, beat writer for the Raiders, man. He had some thoughts on Tyree Wilson and what he's seen so far, man. I'm gonna go ahead and play this clip and we'll react to what's been said. Hold on one second.
I can hear fans right now asking, "What about Tyree Wilson? How about Tyree?" I wouldn't say Tyree's had a great camp. I think Tyree's still kind of a project. I think, and you heard, like all offseason, we heard about Tyree Wilson, Trey Tucker, Jacorian Bennett, great offseason to really going to really take off this year. And with Jacorian, I think he's definitely backed that up. I think he's had a great camp. He's shown he's ready to make an impact. He's definitely a guy who learned from last year. He's gotten better. He has right mentality. Tucker struggled with some drops at camp so far, so we'll see with that. And Tyree Wilson, I don't know if he's going to have an impact this year, which is fine, I guess, because they have other guys who can. But, for a guy who's a first-round pick, I think he still struggles at times getting off the ball. So I think that's still a pretty large question mark, which, again, it doesn't matter too much, I guess, because they have enough guys in that front line anyway. But, I wouldn't say he's taking another step forward.
Man. Man, that's tough to hear, man, because guy that top 10 pick, number 7 overall.
Yeah.
And as time goes on, we're hearing more about that draft, and it just felt like we've said in the past, like Tyree just felt like he was the backup option. He was not the guy that the Raiders wanted to begin with. There were other people that they're penciling in, targeting, hopefully that they were going to drop to number 7. Guys like the corner that Seattle drafted,
Devin
Witherspoon. I seen a lot of the places that connected the Raiders to them, but obviously he went number 5 to Seattle. The offensive lineman Paris Johnson, who looks like a player out there, he literally, the Cardinals traded right in front of the Raiders and drafted him because I'm sure they thought if there's no way he was going to drop to them, and they probably thought that the Raiders were going to drafted him because we've seen the reports saying that the Raiders most likely were going to draft Paris Johnson, and that would have been nice. You know what I mean? That would have solidified the offensive line for years to come. Raiders missed out, and then they were left with the next best thing, and that was Tyree Wilson. Yeah. That being said, man, I don't think it's as bad. Just like Tafer kind of mentioned, he said that just if we just look at the team right now or the defensive line as it's currently constructed, there's not going to be a lot of pressure on Tyree to really be counted on to make plays. He just got to be that rotational player, do your job, and hopefully he develops into a player that they envision him to be. But I don't know, man. Severe, man. You were low on him when we drafted him, man. He's still, just your Vic Tafer, mentioned like he's still, slow to get off. He hasn't stood out. I know. This past weekend during the scrimmage, he did make some plays. We're not saying that was like the first time we've kind of heard Tyree's name being called. He did make some plays out there. I think he had a sack or two, maybe a forced fumble. Yeah. But was that a result of AOC holding the ball too long, or was Tyree just a monster out there?
Yeah, I mean, my problem, and that's what people have to understand whenever I'm looking at a draft class or a draft pick, and I don't think enough people do this. You have to look at a draft pick as an opportunity cost, right? If you draft this player, what else could you have done with that particular draft pick instead of drafting that player? And when you're doing that, you have to factor in, hey, your team needs, what is the overall depth of that position in the draft, how good that particular player is. And I just felt when we drafted Tyree Wilson, now obviously at the time I didn't know that Chandler Jones was going to, go crazy. But I didn't feel that the defensive end was in need because we had Chandler and we had Max, and they were our two highest, paid defensive players. Mm-hmm. I knew we needed a defensive tackle, and the edge class in that particular draft class was pretty deep. Defensive tackle in that draft class was pretty shallow, but at the top of that class was a generational player, and now I can't forget Jalen Carter. And he came in and he immediately made an impact for the Eagles, right? Mm-hmm. I think PFF, I think you might have sent this to me like a few weeks back. PFF already has him not only as a top 10 defensive tackle, but I want to say as a top 10 defensive lineman, period, according to their rankings, right? He's a guy who by the end of the year, people say, oh, Tyree finished the year stronger. Well, no, it's because at the end of the year, Tyree Wilson was an afterthought to Max Crosby and Adam Butler and John Jenkins and Malcolm Kuntz, while Jalen Carter was essentially the focal point of what teams was trying to stop with the Eagles. So he has all the talent. He has all the physical gifts in the world, right? He's a guy that has some athleticism. He's strong. He has crazy long arms. He has potential, but he has to figure it out. And last year we gave him the excuse because it was injury, and this year, he had not only the better. Let's just say the back end of the year, right? The back end of the year to kind of get himself into shape, and then the entire rest of the offseason to kind of get better as a player. And he still really hasn't, made that necessary turn. We had some hopes early because, we saw him physically. He looked to be in good shape. We heard him talk. He sounded confident when he was speaking, much more open with the media than last year when he was getting his bruh man on. But now, it's like that has to translate to the field, right? It's like, what they say, guys that look like Tarzan but play like Jane. Like, is that what Tyree is going to be? I'm hoping that's not the case, because like, people want to say, like, sometimes it takes guys a little bit longer to develop, right? Hassan Reddick is a guy that took a little bit longer to develop, but Tyree Wilson was a top 10 pick. Like, he was drafted number 7 overall over the guy who was, by most considered the best player in that draft, regardless of position, in Jalen Carter. So we need to see some type of production out of him. And it is concerning to everybody except Malcolm Kuntz that he's not, seeing that production, because Malcolm Kuntz is over there. He's rubbing his hands together like Birdman. Like, like.
Now, for real, man, I think they're gonna have to make a priority to bring back Kuntz. They got to. I mean, It only makes sense now if Tyree becomes into a monster out there making plays, getting sacks, then it makes Kuntz, more expendable. We don't just think about, like, there's been other situations where they let a pass rusher go because they had some other guys come up, and I think the Jets probably did that, right? They end up trading away. Was it Hassan Reddick? Not Hassan Reddick. They traded. I think I forgot a team that teams have traded away pass rushers, veteran pass rushers, because they had some guys waiting under the ring. Because at the end of the day, pass rushers get paid. Yeah. They're one of the premium positions out there, valuable positions out there on the football team. But before we go on, man, shout out to Daniel Kim, man. My God, man, I appreciate it. I got you, man. He says, got to call it a night as I'm talking to the fam, taking the fam to Disney tomorrow. Hey, man, shout out to the fam, man. They going to Disneyland. Yeah. Man, that's gonna be a nice trip, bro.
For sure.
Man,
Daniel Kim going to Disneyland and to the Raiders. Daniel Kim, you rich? You going to Disneyland, man? Like, I don't know if anybody got kids, bro. Disneyland is like $800 a ticket, man. It's wild.
Is it? Both. It's $800 a ticket? Nah, okay.
Nah, it's not that great. It's like 100. It's like 100. But depending on how many kids you got a big family, bro. That's easy. Like, if you got like 2 or 3 kids, like, a trip to Disneyland is easily like $1,100, $1,200, bro.
Are the lines like super long? I know at some point they're
crazy long, bro. Crazy long.
Yeah, that's great, man. Hey, Daniel, man, get there early, man. Hey, man, just enjoy the trip, man. That sounds like gonna be cool, man. Hopefully, we're gonna see you game 1, Chargers, week 1, and we're gonna talk about that the show. But yeah, man. Hopefully, we see you game 1, man, against the Chargers, and it's gonna be a W in LA, man. Home Raider game. You know what it is, man. Appreciate you, King of Mods, man, coming through and supporting the channel, man. Appreciate you coming through, man. Man, the chat is going crazy. I'm trying to catch up. Hold on, what's it? Disneyland is PayPal on crack. It's PayPal on crack. Damn, man, for real. My 2 cents. Disney ruined Star Wars, but enjoy. Did Disney ruin? You talking about the movies franchise?
Yeah, he did. I mean, The Mandalorian is good. I'll give him that. Mandalorian is good. I don't know if anybody watches that show. It's a good show. I'm not even a Star Wars guy, but that's a good show though.
Yeah, they're like it's just like everything, man. When the money comes in, man, they're gonna try to capitalize and make up stories that never existed. Make it out of thin air, man. It is what it is. But yeah, Tyree. By the way, look, I hope it works out with Tyree, but I don't like hearing this, man. The big thing with him was that he was hurt last year. Yeah. He wasn't 100%. He wasn't supposed to start. Chandler Jones situation got out of hand, and he was just forced into action. He wasn't ready. It was obvious. So I kind of give him a benefit of doubt. But, you know, look, there's still a few preseason games. It's still not, you know, there's still some time. And on top of that, I think the Raiders aren't really relying on him to be the guy. And hopefully as the year goes on, he'll make some strides, get better. And maybe he might be the guy in the future. But I be honest with you, we need to start talking to Kuntz's agent right now. Right now.
We should already started, man. That's the problem.
Yeah.
We should already started. Like before camp and all this stuff, we should have started. Just because now Tyree out here struggling. Like that's what people said last year, right? Because I told people Tyree has a bad get off, right? That was his problem. He has a bad get off. He's slow off. He's always the last person off the line or one of the last people off the line. And they were like, oh, he has a foot injury. Like, nah, bro, I saw this at Texas Tech. Like he's just slow off the line. And he doesn't have any pass rush moves at all, right? He has a long arm. He has a bull rush. Those are essentially his only two real like honed in pass rush moves. Like he has nothing else. Doesn't have a counter. Like nothing. Like if that doesn't work for him, then it's over. So you would hope to see some development in that realm, and it doesn't seem to be there. And it seems that he had his most success against a guy like Aidan O'Connell, who's essentially a stationary quarterback, right? You know where Aidan O'Connell is going to be most of the time. He has a little movement, but not much, and he does tend to hold the ball long. We saw him take. It's not necessarily his fault, but we saw him take 7 sacks against the Chargers, right? So,
right.
So so that success he had in that situation, like are we grading that on a curve because of who was in there at quarterback? Because Aidan lacks the escapability to get away, because we saw Gardner, you know, make Max miss a few sacks, and I think he made, you know, Christian miss a sack as well. So,
oh man, I totally forgot. I totally forgot, man. I totally forgot.
Oh yeah. We sure did.
I totally forgot, man. That's the call-in number, man. I said I was gonna put the call-in number.
Facts.
I really forgot about that, man. But that's the number if y'all want to call in. I know it's late, but yeah, if you guys want to call in and let us know your thoughts on the show, you know, anything going on with the Raiders, what you're looking forward to is regarding the Raiders, man. Let us know, man. You see the number right there, 628-333-9343. Man, keep it respectful so we can have a good conversation. If not, we're not gonna tolerate anything, bro. I'm gonna be honest with you.
Nah, facts. I mean, so I think we're all pulling for Tyree, but we need to see some development, man. And it's still early, as you said, man. As we were saying with all the that's the caveat we have to put on all of this, right? Where the guy's playing well, where the guy's playing bad, where he's playing whether it's indifferent, right? We kind of have to let the caveat is that it's still early. There's still a lot of off season to go. We still got all of preseason to go, and we still have a long NFL season. We saw what Malcolm Kuntz did, you know, towards the end of the year. He turned it on. You know, going away from the Raiders, we saw Jordan Love. He's a completely different player in the first half of the season than he was the second half of the season. So we understand that, you know, all these things can change, but it's just that, you know, sometimes past is prologue, and Tyree struggled last year, and some of those struggles are continuing into this year, and we're hoping that he's able to turn that corner, because sometimes NFL is a war of attrition, and there's likely going to come a point in time where we're going to need him to make a contribution.
Yeah, man. Well, we'll see, man. Look, hey, like there's going to be a few preseason games. So he's going to get plenty of PT. You know what I mean? He's going to be playing for sure. They're going to be, and I think his role is pretty much a chess piece. Like they're going to move from the outside, inside, outside, inside. He's going to be that versatile, D lineman, where he's going to go inside on passing downs, outside on, you know, obviously probably running downs. Because I think early on, a strength of his is stopping the run. That's the one thing you can say. So they're going to use him, and that hopefully he plays that to the best of his ability. And as time goes on, he can add some more to his toolkit. But yeah, man, I just didn't like when I heard that. I was just like, please, like, don't let it be another bust in the first round. Come on, man. But hopefully it works out with Tyree Wilson, because he definitely has a lot more talent than, like, let's say Cleveland Farrell. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It wasn't a situation. It wasn't a situation like that. But Man, let's move it along, man. What's real? What's not? This is where we say a statement and you guys react, or we react as well too, along with you guys, to say if this statement is real or it's not. So the first statement is the lack of competent QB play will keep the Raiders out of the playoffs. The lack of competent QB play will keep the Raiders out of the playoffs. Is that real or is it not?
I'm going to say that's real. I think this team, if we, my two biggest concerns on this team outside of quarterback, we're still hating on Atlanta for taking Michael Penix. I think the Raiders kind of had their mind made up on Michael Penix. And I was listening to something. I can't remember what it was, but remember, like, Antonio Pierce straight up said, like, there's going to be like no bridge quarterback or something like that, or no temporary solutions at quarterback. And then what do we end up with, right? Gardner Minshew and Aidan O'Connell. And I think neither one of those guys, I don't have a lot of confidence in either one of those guys, to be honest with you, to be the guy that's going to lead us to the playoffs, especially in the AFC. The AFC is extremely tough. The AFC North alone could have as many as 4 playoff teams, probably 3 for sure, and 1 knocking on the door, depending on how you feel about the Pittsburgh Steelers. The AFC South has gotten tougher with the emergence of the Texans. I think the Jaguars will probably be better. It's going to be a difficult time to make the playoffs. We likely won't win the division, so we're going to have to get in as a wild card. But there is a lot of competition in the AFC, and I just don't think we have the quarterback play right now to lead us there. I'm hoping I'm wrong. I'm hoping one of these guys kind of takes the bull by the horns and says, this is my team and I am the leader of it. But the fact that, like, you look at it like, we call Gardner Minshew a journeyman. And we say AOC is a rookie, late round rookie quarterback, but neither one of them could beat the other one, right? It's just like neither one of these guys is some all pro superstar or some like guy that's expected to be some great player, but yet neither one of them seems to be able to separate from the other guy. So I think that is concerning. I think, we're going to probably have to lean on the running game and lean on our weapons. I think that's going to be the difference. I don't think the quarterback play is going to be what does it. If we have success on offense, it's just because we have so many weapons that it was impossible for it to fail. But what I think the difference is, I don't think our offense will be bad, and that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that it comes down to those pivotal moments sometimes in a season or in a game where you need your signal caller to will you to a win. And I don't think we have the guy under center that can do it, right? We had pretty good offenses for a long time with the former quarterback, right? Not Jimmy G, of course, but the guy before him. And we can never really get over that hump. Even though our offenses weren't bad, we can never really get over that hump. But now it's looking like, we don't even have a signal caller that can even duplicate the success that he had.
Yeah. And you know what? I'm going to have to agree with you, man. At the end of the day, man, today's NFL, man, you got to get the quarterback position is so important in a passing league where you're going to have to score, where you're going to have to play big in big moments. I think the defense is legit. I think it's going to keep us competitive. It's going to keep us in the games. Like you mentioned, that running game is going to be huge. I think Zamir White, although I don't think he's going to be maybe Josh Jacobs, I think he's going to be pretty good, pretty solid this year. And that's good enough, you know what I mean? And they'll complement our defense. But at the end of the day, that quarterback needs to, if you're telling me that we're not going to get competent quarterback play, like manage the game, protect the football, look at the Pittsburgh Steelers last year. You know what I mean? Like look at certain teams where, man, if they just had a better QB, they'll be able to get into the playoffs. Yeah. You know what I mean? And I feel like the Raiders, hopefully, like I said, like you were saying, man, hopefully AOC or not even. I was about to say Jimmy G, man.
Like,
Man,
hell no.
I'm still having nightmares about that, man. But Gardner Minshew could be that guy, and not when I say that guy, just all you have to do is just manage the offense. Like we have so many different weapons. We got so many different playmakers where the quarterback doesn't necessarily have to be the hero. He doesn't have to carry this team. This team is going to be led by it's going to be carried by its defense, run game, and then we got a lot of different weapons on offense where the quarterback he just needs to play good, efficient football, and hopefully we get that. But if we can't get that, then yeah, it's definitely going to stop us from getting the playoffs. It's just that's how competitive it is, especially in the AFC where there's quarterbacks everywhere. You know what I mean? Especially look at our division. As much as we don't like Justin Herbert, it is what it is, man. He's a solid quarterback.
He's better than solid, man. I know we give him a lot of grief. Like if we had Justin Herbert,
I know. I just hate the Chargers. I'm just gonna say solid.
If we had Justin Herbert, we'd be a Super Bowl contender, man. And I'm not even like, and I think he's overrated. I think he's overrated, but he's a good quarterback. He's not like some top people trying to put him in the top 5 sometimes, something like that. And he ain't that high, but he's a top 12-ish quarterback. If we had that on our team, bro, we are a legit Super Bowl contender.
Yeah, and you know what? Patrick Mahomes, man. He's on our division, man. Like, at the end of the day, like, those games, we were able to do it last year in Christmas. That was beautiful. But, that is tough to do, man. I don't think we can't count on Patrick Mahomes having, like, the worst game of his career or, like, having a tough game. Like, the Kansas City, they added some weapons this year. They obviously they got Jon Gruden in there trying to help him out, give him some ideas on offense. So they got something up their sleeve for sure. But they do have the best quarterback in the NFL. And obviously, we got the Joe Burrows of the world. We got they got that guy out in with the Texans, who's, you know what I mean. He's looking like he's gonna be legit. The Raiders are gonna have to get at least solid quarterback play. It can't be a situation where Minshew's throwing interceptions left and right. AOC, they just got to manage the game and let everybody else do the work, pretty much. But yeah, man. Hey, look, everybody's on the same page, man. Real. I think he said Band-Aid at QB.
Yeah, man.
You think Jaleel Cambridge is gonna get some PT? Jaleel Cambridge.
It sounds like a made-up person, but I don't know who that is. I don't know who that is. Are they talking about Anthony Brown? Maybe I don't know. But
I don't know if you're trolling, bro.
But yeah, man. Like I said, man. I think my prediction was 10-7. I don't know if that's good enough to I don't know if that's good enough to be a wild card. But we say Herbert is not a leader. But is Gardner Minshew? I mean, maybe Gardner Minshew has AOC proven that he's a leader yet? I don't think so. I don't think either one of these guys have really proven that they can lead an organization. Because Gardner is a journeyman, and AOC has yet to take that next step, in my opinion.
Man, shout out to Raider to the Bone. Appreciate the super chat, man. Appreciate you coming through and supporting the show, man. He says, how confident are y'all that the deal will be top 10? Pause. I feel like the O is so cheeks. It's making all of us think that the D.
It is very.
Damn.
So this is extremely pause-worthy.
Definitely pause-worthy statement, but
yes.
I think the defense for sure is going to be. It just feels like it's going to be special this year. It just feels like it.
I feel what he's saying. And this is why I think those joint practices are so important, because when you have an offense, or especially with not even necessarily offense, when you have such questionable quarterback play, because think about this, right? People have said that the best unit on our team this offseason has been the secondary. Like, nobody going into the offseason would have said the secondary would be our best unit, right? They would automatically assume to be our defensive line. And that is our secondary has been the best unit, and that's with us missing Colton Miller and Jackson Powers Johnson the entire time, and with a rotating two guys at right tackle, right? So the fact that our secondary is still the best looking unit, it could be a situation where the quarterback play has been so bad that it's making our defense. That's what he's saying. I know. I still think we have a one of the top 10 defenses in the league, but I understand what he's saying right there. That's why the joint practices are so valuable. I wish we would have took advantage of it this year.
Raider to the bone with another super chat, man. I knew you was playing, man. I didn't even want to put it up there, but I appreciate the super chat. I was catting with the Jaleel Cambridge line.
I was like, Jaleel Cambridge. I was like, is that Anthony Brown's nickname? Did he like? He's like,
I was like, Jaleel Cambridge. I was like, who the hell is Jaleel Cambridge, man? That must be some guy I don't know that's under the radar. But I appreciate the support, man. Appreciate the super chat. But yeah, man. Hey, we got one more. What's real? What's not? And the second one here. Jack Jones will handle kickoff duties week 1. Is that real or is it not?
You talking about as the kicker, right?
Yeah. No. He'll handle kickoff duties. So meaning, as a kicker. Is that how you presented it, as a kicker? Okay.
Yes.
So
yes.
Well, let me. All right. So Jack Jones will be a kicker come week 1
for the kickoffs.
For kickoffs, yeah. Is it real or is it not?
No, I'm gonna say it's not real, but I will say this: I think we will try it in preseason. I wouldn't be surprised if he's handling the kickoff duties on for the first preseason game against Minnesota, and if he does well and he's able to do well throughout the preseason, I think they'll try it, and I think they'll try it with the caveat that if it doesn't work out, they can always go back to Daniel Carlson. But if it does prove to work out, I think that just adds an extra element to special teams. And I think McMahon, we saw how excited that dude was talking about the new kickoff rules, bro. He ain't seen that much action since his honeymoon. So like dude was happy
he's in the lab like this, man.
Bro. He couldn't wait. So he was super excited. So I think he's doing a whole bunch of tinkering, and I think if it works, I think this might be something you see, and I think that teams will start to do this, man. Teams will start to do it because it's why not, right? We saw Chad like a guy like Chad Johnson, right? We saw Chad Johnson kick some extra points before, or Chad Ochocinco kick some extra points. There are guys out there that can kick the ball who did it. Like when I was in high school, we had a wide receiver that was our punter. Like some of these guys know how to kick. They're not, as good as some of the pros. But if it's just on kickoff and just about getting the ball between the 1 and 20, that's all you have to do and keep it in bounds, I think we might try it.
Yeah, I agree to a certain extent. I think they might experiment with it, but I just don't think that they're going to have them out there when you got, Daniel Carlson out there who has that experience of kicking the ball, his accuracy, things like that. I don't think Jack Jones is going to have that type of consistent. You mentioned this earlier too. Like, I don't know if he's going to be consistent enough to actually be trusted to be a kicker in those types of situations. So I don't think so. And on top of that too, and if you're asking him to be out there on special teams, which I know special teams, a lot of there's certain starters, certain players, they also play special teams as well. But I don't know if I want Jack Jones out there. I don't want our number one corner as the team and defense is currently constructed. Jack Jones is our number one corner. Do y'all want him out there on special teams to get hurt, possibly hurt? I don't. I was mad that we had, I wasn't mad, but like Hunter Renfrow for all those years. Like, why are we having Hunter Renfrow as a punt returner when we depend on him so much on offense? Like, it didn't make any sense, especially a guy that obviously gets hurt. So it didn't make any sense to me. So I think it's not real for sure. Not real.
Yeah,
in my
and
opinion.
then the fatigue factor as well, right? To kick the ball off, run all the way down there to cover the kick, and then the offense takes over and you're right back on the field at corner. I think that could be that could be difficult.
Yeah, man. Hey, man, shout out to Raider to the Bone, man. With another super chat, he says, who do you guys show out most on the D-line aside from Max? So who's going to show out most on the D-line aside from Max and Wilkins? Man, we mentioned a few, man. Kuntz, Adam Butler. Yeah. I mean, Tyree. I don't know if Tyree going to show out, but I hope. But I think Adam Butler and Kuntz are guys that like stuck out. You know what I thought was an interesting? I think we don't got a lot of time, but like a guy that someone was thrown out there as a guy that the Raiders should possibly look into is bringing back Ngakoue. You think that's a possibility as a rotational pass rusher, bringing him in certain packages, obvious passing downs, and he comes in for a veteran minimum contract.
Yeah,
I wouldn't mind it. I think, and he'll fit in with the locker room.
Yeah.
I think he's familiar.
Yeah.
He's good friends with Max Crosby.
Very good friends with Max.
You know what I mean? And outside of last year where he got hurt, he averaged damn near 8 sacks a year, including 10 sacks with the Raiders. Back in 2021, I believe. So. He has some ability there at rushing the passer. Would you look into bringing him in?
I honestly
build off the strength
for a veteran minimum. I wouldn't hate the idea. But right now, and I think I think Mike Caldwell. I think he was a coach on the Jaguars as well when Ngakoue would have been there, I believe. So he might have some familiarity with some of the guys on the coaching staff too. But I just think that right now, we got Kuntz, we got Max, we got Tyree, who we're hoping to develop. I've heard some good things. This guy I didn't bring up earlier because he's still flying under the radar, and there's still a good chance he doesn't make the team. But he's been making some plays quietly, and he was at the Pass Rush Summit. Snowden, I think Charles Snowden is his name. He's a guy that people have been saying, hey, you know what? He's kind of turning some heads in training camp with his production. A lot of people were high on Janarius Robinson last year. Some of the things he did. So I don't know. I think Ngakoue most likely would definitely be an upgrade over both of those guys. So I wouldn't hate it. But then it just becomes, hey, a roster spot situation, right? Do you want to essentially sign this guy and almost have to guarantee him a roster spot? And I'm not sure if they're really wanting to do that, especially when you got some young guys that are up and coming.
Yeah, we'll see, man. I think preseason will tell us a lot. Like, if after those starters come out and some of the guys that you're mentioning, if they're not making any plays, then Ngakoue, you want to come over here for a vet minimum, man, let's do it, man. Let's sign on the dotted line, man. I wouldn't mind it at all. But yeah, man, I'm all for it, man. Because look, at the end of the day, man, it's nothing wrong with making a strength even stronger. Making solidifying that D line, having depth. All the good teams have depth. It's not just like, you got a good starter and that's it. Like, you got to have a good starter. You got a guy that has that can come in and, for whatever reason, if the starter's out or he'll pick up where he left off. So. Definitely for me, I'll definitely look into it, but we'll see, man. I think that's something that we should keep an eye on because the Raiders do have cap space. They can make this is where the Raiders can be really strategic. Obviously, they can extend. Marty Mart right here. He mentioned Kuntz with the money sign. Yeah, we definitely can sign him to a contract, which I'm hoping. But they can also be strategic and look at their roster and being honest. And pick up some of these cuts because some teams are going to have some surprise cuts. The Raiders could be like, you know what, let's go ahead and pick up this guy right here, and sign him to a contract. Might as well. Let's do it. But we'll see, man. But yeah, man. Hey, man, it's been a great show. Everybody's getting on.
I will say this though: if we do bring back Yannick, keep this dude off the field before the Chiefs game. That's all I got to say.
Hey, Raider to the Bone, man. Shout out to my Habesha partner, Pharaoh, man. Spelled Pharaoh. Man, you are hilarious, man. It's actually spelled like that on purpose. It's actually spelled on purpose, man. Appreciate the support. Raider to the Bone, man. Appreciate you, my guy.
I think we got one more down there. We ain't saying the name though.
What do you say? What do you say?
I think we got one more super. I think I see one more super.
Oh man, we got the. Oh man, your name, man. You gotta change this name, but I got you. I'm not gonna say the name, but I.
That's DC. We ain't talking about Derek Carr.
Trade for Hooker. Hendon Hooker, who's who you talking about? Backup. QB for the Detroit Lions. Hey, we talked about it early in the offseason. I was all for it, but at this point, I'm not sure if they're gonna make the move. But from what we're hearing from the Lions side and their camp, man, he's looking good out there. He's playing well. Hendon Hooker, if you guys remember, was a guy that if he wasn't hurt, he probably would have been one of the first QBs taken last year in last year's draft. But obviously he was hurt. He was taken in the third round. His injury recovery took him into the season, so he wasn't 100% healthy until during the season. So obviously, his rookie year was pretty much done. But with Jared Goff getting that huge extension, you're like, oh, okay, maybe if the Raiders, if they valued him at quarterback, or if they, were really, looking at, around the league and seeing what the possibilities of maybe upgrading that quarterback position, they can possibly looking into getting Hendon Hooker. It never happened, and I don't think Telesco would do something like that. I'm not sure unless he was unless he was in the building.
Yes.
Usually, you know what I mean. Like sometimes when certain GMs
when
or coaches,
when they leave from that team and go somewhere else, and they're like, man, we know this guy is going to be nice, or he was an up and comer. Yeah. Yeah, man. I feel the same way. Like I think we were both on the same accord where we're saying, you know what, we should really make a move, especially after the draft when we didn't get a guy, and then after Goff had signed that contract, we were both saying the same thing. Like, man, let's try to get Hendon Hooker, but it didn't happen. I think that ship is kind of sailed. Maybe that's something we revisit next year. But if he balls out in the preseason, much like Malcolm Coombs, that price tag is going up.
Yeah. I mean, at this point, they might be asking for what? If they really feel good about him as a young prospect, they might be asking for maybe a second rounder.
Yeah.
That's why I was like, if we were gonna get him, maybe get him before preseason hit. Actually, but
for a third, we might have been able to get him for a third and something.
Yeah, man. But you got to be a super aggressive GM to do that. I don't think we got that type of GM. I mean, I'm not no shots at Tom Telesco, but I feel like he's a little bit more on the conservative side.
Yeah, conservative.
Yeah, definitely on the conservative side. But we'll see, man. Hey, look, man. Well, let's hope our franchise quarterback is on the roster with Gardner Minshew and and AOC, man. We'll find out soon enough, man. Well, let's hope, man. But hey, man, it's been a great show. Just wanted to come through and talk about the latest and greatest with the Raiders, training camp, all that good stuff. Hey, first preseason game is this Saturday. There's gonna be a lot to look forward to, and yeah, man, it's gonna be some stuff that we're gonna be talking about. Obviously, during the week, there's a couple of practices. They have until Wednesday, maybe.
Yeah.
I think
he said Wednesday is going to, I think the day, he said Wednesday is basically they're going to kind of go in to more game mode on Wednesday. So interesting to see, man. We'll see what happens, man. I'm interested to see some Raiders football, interested to see who will be that first guy, under center, interested to see who, we don't even know who for sure is going to be kicking off right now, that could be up in the air as well, man. So we'll see.
Yeah. Hey, my bad, y'all. I forgot to put the number out. I put it on super late. So I'll bring the number back out so you guys can call in a little bit earlier. I know it's late, but we appreciate everybody tuning in. It's been a great show. Severe, man. Let the people know where they can find you and what to look forward to.
For sure. You guys already know, man, the Severe Raider here on YouTube, the Severe Raider on IG, on X, on Snapchat, on TikTok. Hey, just search your boy up. I got some stuff coming out soon, man. I'm trying to figure out a day during the week that's going to be, the most optimal for my own solo show, man. Got that in the works, but I'm about to probably like before the end of preseason, I will have something up and running for y'all, man. So y'all can join me over there. Probably still late night, man. I'm a night owl. Shout out to my guy in the chat, but y'all be able to yell at me, just solo over there.
Yes, sir, man. Hey, look, man. We do this every Monday nights 50-50 show, man. Make sure to clock in, clock out at this point. Hit that notification bell, all that good stuff. We're going live on both our channels, so you want to make sure you're subscribed to both our channels, and hit the notification bell too as well. You know what I mean? We go Monday nights. We don't say a time, but we go on Monday nights, so that notification bell. If you hit it, it does help you. It notifies you when we go live. You'll get that notification on your phone wherever you're watching it. And hey, man, look, we do this every Monday, so you want to make sure you tune in. We do have a show later this week. We drop it every Saturday morning. It's me, myself, myself, and
me, myself.
That's it, right? Nah, it's me, Severe, and shout out to Big Mike Raider. We drop it every Saturday morning, so tune in for that. So make sure you hit the notification bell and so you can get all the latest and greatest from us as far as this content. But we appreciate everybody coming through, man. It's been a great show. Had a good time, good conversation. I guess that's pretty much it, man. Till next time, man. Let's get up out of here, man. Oh my, it's whew. Long show. All right, here we go. Peace.
Just win, baby. Hello? You play to win the game. You don't play to just play it.